Hello, welcome back to the Mortal Realms issue 25. So we've got a couple of paints this week. We've got the mighty Agrax Earthshade and we have got Balthazar Gold base paint. Agrax Earthshade, you can never have too much. It's the second best thing of all time behind Nuln Oil. Now, what have we got? We'll have a little bit of a look at some terrain at the end of the issue, which is similar to what we'll be getting next week. And I really like this terrain set that we are going to start getting in the next sort of 15 issues or so of Mortal Realms. So we've got an insert for the Forces of Death. We'll have a look at that first, and then we'll take a butcher's at the magazine. Okay, so the Forces of Death are many and varied, but all are united in their devotion, willingly or otherwise, to serving Nagash. They are led to war by some of the most terrifyingly powerful and utterly ruthless beings in all of the 8 mortal realms. So this is looking specifically, that beast is Nagash. Nagash is the god of death, hateful and ancient beyond the comprehension of any mortal. All the armies of the dead bend the knee to the great necromancer and are bound to his will. He relies upon his mortarchs to lead his armies whilst he plots his domination of the mortal realms. When he does deign to appear on the battlefield, however, all mortals cower. Okay, so, blimey, so we've got a little bit about the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Cat across there. So a little bit about Catacross and the Bone Reapers in general. More information about the Nighthaunt. So we've got some stuff about Flesh Eater Courts as well, which was our premium content. We've got some more about the Nighthaunt, and then we've got also down here the Procession of Death. We've got the Black Coach, which is a pretty awesome model as well. Very nice. Okay. Well, what else have we got? Looking at Arcane the Black, Neferata, and Manfred von Carstein. Manfred von Carstein is the Mortarch of Night. He serves Nagash not out of loyalty, but because he is bound to Nagash's will. Nagash does not trust his scheming Mortarch, but knows that Manfred's martial skill, cunning, and mastery of necromancy will be required if he is to dominate the mortal realms. Okay, so that's good information there. I look forward to going through all that. So one thing I am thinking of doing is, as we go through the Mortal Realms, there are some articles, some ongoing articles that come out. And what I might do is, sometimes these articles are multi-parted, so they might be in 2 or 3 different parts. What I might do is, if you guys tell me you want it, I might wait until those come to fruition. There's some stories and that kind of thing that are there. I might come back and look at that entire story and give my thoughts on that. So if you want to see that sort of thing, let me know. Okay, in this issue, you've received 2 new paints for this issue, Balthazar Gold and Agrax Earthshade. Balthazar Gold is a darker colour that is great for painting bronze or base coating gold details. Agrax Earthshade works well as a shade for these metal areas, but it can also be used on many other colours like brown and bone. You'll learn this firsthand as you use these new paints on your Sigmarite Mausoleum, bringing some depth and eye-catching details to these miniatures. Once you're done, there's an exciting battle plan in which to use your new Warscrolls and the few rules for wizards. Happy hobbying. Okay, so what have we got? Thousand Storms Part 4. So that's what I was saying about the articles. What I might do is wait until Thousand Storms and other articles like that receive all of their parts, and then do one big long look through the entire all of the different chapters of what happens there. Then we've got Magic on the Mortal Realms Part 2, Nurgle the Plague God, and then we look at the Purifying Flame. Then we've got a paint guide. Then we've got Wizards. This section of core rules covers everything you'll need to use Wizards. Then we've got Warscrolls for the Knight Incantor and the Briar Queen and Thorns. And then we've got our battle plan, Skirmish at Hallowstone Hold. Okay, so 1,000 Storms Part 4. The forces of chaos have been forced back across the mortal realms, but are by no means defeated. Meanwhile, in the realm of death, Nagash's elaborate and malign plans begin to take form. And it goes through different parts of that. So like we had in the Conquest magazine, there used to be like an ongoing timeline, look at different millenniums and that kind of thing. And this is running a similar part. So staying within the 1,000 Storms, it's going through different parts of those battles and that time. Then we've got Magic in the Mortal Realms Part 2. Arcane power courses through the mortal realms, and each realm is shaped by its own unique magic. So we've got light and grey magic. So, for example, the Prismatic Palisade. When the Prismatic Palisade is summoned, a crystalline wall shimmers into being. So intense is the light that emanates from it that all must avert their gaze or be struck blind. Entire enemies can thus be halted in their tracks. And then we've got the Umbral Spell Portal. This spell appears to most mortals as little more than a swirl of murky shadow. Only those who possess great arcane power can see through the portal's surface. Into the opening, they cast their magic, increasing the range of their spells. Okay, that's interesting. Then we've got Endless Life Swarm. An emerald life swarm appears as a cloud of buzzing insects in the life-giving energy of Gairan given form. The life swarm seeks out the wounded, flowing into damaged tissue, healing muscles and tendons and sealing broken skin. And then we've got Suffocating Gravetide. By drawing on the death magic that runs through the realms, a wizard can pull the souls of the dead to the surface and unleash them on their foes in a rolling wave of anguished moans, grave dirt and clawing spectral hands. Okay, Grim. Right, Nurgle, god of plagues. Nurgle is the lord of decay. It is he who unleashes famines and disease upon the world. Sooner or later, every mortal feels Nurgle's pestilence touch. When crops spoil and when wounds fester and plague runs riot, prayers are offered to Nurgle and mortals suffer a terrible fate. And it's got some of the different sort of pictures. These are all models, I believe, pretty much. Gorax, Bilebloat, Fuglan, Vlan, and Gyglax. Nice. And it talks a little bit about the Garden of Nurgle as well. Then we look at Purifying Flame. Valentin Embrath stood atop the canvas-coated wagon, observing the scene before him. His caravan had passed into the shadow of a seemingly abandoned tower, its broken observatory decorated with leering skulls. They had not noticed the group of dead walkers beneath the tower until it was too late. The undead creatures seemed to have been drawn to the structure like moths to a flickering flame. They had noticed the wagons now, though. Fall back and draw them in, Embrath bellowed to his pikemen, who had formed a perimeter. The soldiers raised their pole arms and scurried back towards the wagons, the zombies now shambling towards them in a growing horde. Okay, so that is pretty cool. So a little bit of information about Bright Wizards, Arcane Towers and Dead Walkers there. Okay, then we look at our new paints and how they affect the Mausoleum. So basically what have we got? Balthazar Gold on some of the metallic areas that are on there. Washed with Agrax Earthshade. Also some Agrax on some of the stones and that kind of thing. Okay, so it brings us up a bit more there. Okay, so now we've got some more rules for wizards. This section explains how models with the wizard keyword act in the hero phase, including instructions for both casting and unbinding spells. Use this page together with the model's war scroll in order to cast and unbind spells. Okay. So it talks about casting spells. So each spell has a casting value. Okay, so basically you have to roll to that level or higher in order to call it a success. So if there's a casting value of 5, they roll 2 dice, and as long as they're 5 or more, it's a success. Now, other wizards have an opportunity to unbind that spell. And how they do that is they roll 2 dice, and as long as it's higher than the value that the original wizard rolled, it unbinds the spell, so the spell doesn't count. So, for example, Arcane Bolt. It's got a casting value of 5. If successfully cast, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster that is visible to them. That unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If the casting roll was 10 or more, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds instead. And then Mystic Shield. So these are ones that we've seen before anyway. Mystic Shield has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick a friendly unit within 18 inches of the caster that is visible to them. Reroll save rolls of 1 for that unit until your next hero phase. Wizards are usually fielded as a unit consisting of just 1 model. If a unit with the wizard keyword has more than 1 model, it counts as a single wizard for all rules purposes. And you must pick a model from the unit to cast or unbind a spell before you attempt to cast or unbind it. Measure the distance and check visibility using the model you picked. Okay. And then it's got a little tutorial for that. Unbinding, it says there, it has to be within 30 inches of the caster. Okay, that's good. And it shows you what to do in the case of units of wizards. So you just pick one of the models. Okay, Warscrolls. So we've got the Knight Incantor. So what have we got? We've got 5 wounds, a move of 5 inches, saves on a 3 up and a 9 bravery. Okay, so it's got the Incantor's staff with a range of 2 inches. Got 3 attacks on 3 up to hit and wound, rend -1, and D3 damage. So that's a really cool weapon. And then when we look towards the abilities, we've got Void Storm Scroll. Once per game, when a model with the Void Storm Scroll attempts to unbind a spell, they may use Void Storm Scroll instead of making an unbinding roll. This automatically unbinds the spell. The model attempting to unbind the spell must still be within 30 inches of the caster to use it. Okay, so it's just dispelled. So that's good. That's once per game, so that's not once in the hero phase or anything like that. You just get a one-time chance to do it. Okay, Spirit Flask. Once per game at the start of the combat phase, a Knight Incantor can smash 1, 2, or 3 Spirit Flasks. Models within 3 inches suffer 1 mortal wound for each Spirit Flask smashed. Units with 10 or more models suffer D3 damage for each one smashed as well. So again, that's once per game. At the start of the combat phase, decides to smash 2 Spirit Flasks. At the start of the combat phase, the Stormcast player decides to smash 2 Spirit Flasks. The Briar Queen and the Knight Questor are both within 3 inches of Xandria when the Spirit Flasks are smashed. The Briar Queen, the Knight Questor, and finally Xandria each suffer 2 mortal wounds. Xandria cannot use this ability again in this battle, even though she did not smash her 3rd flask. So it affects the model casting the spell as well. That's interesting. Okay, then we've got Spirit Storm. If successfully cast, the Spirit Storm spell deals 1 mortal wound to all units within 18 inches of the caster. In addition, until the caster's next hero phase, units must subtract 1 from run and charge rolls if they are within 18 inches of the caster. Right, so then we've got the Briar Queen and the Thorns of the Briar Queen. So what has the Briar Queen got? She's got Rending Scream, which was seen before, which is a range of 10 inches. She's got 3 attacks, 3 up to hit and wound, rend -3 and 1 damage. So that's a pretty, if it hits, it's a very, very good chance that it's going to actually get through with that wound based on that rend -3. She's also got the Briar Whip, which is a 3-inch range with 1 attack, 3 ups on hits and wounds, rend -2 and D3 damage. So she's pretty badass. She's good. She's got 5 wounds, moves 6 inches, and saves on a 4-up. She's got a bravery of 10. We will come. So she's a wizard as well, but we'll look at her other abilities in a minute. Then we've got the Thorns. They've got 1 wound each. They move 6 inches, save on a 5-up. They've got a bravery of just 6. And they've got malignant weapons. So it's a range of 1 inch and they've got 2 attacks. 4 ups to hit and wound, no rend and 1 damage. So let's take a look at the abilities. So the Briar Queen has got Howling Vortex. Howling Vortex targets a point on the battlefield and not a unit. Mark this with a coin or other small marker. She successfully casts the spell. The Nighthaunt player marks a point on the battlefield. The Night Questor and Sequitors are within 6 inches of this point, so they may be affected by the spell. The Nighthaunt player rolls 2d6 for each affected unit. 11 is higher than the Sequitor's move of 5 inches, so they take 1 mortal wound and half their move until the next Nighthaunt hero phase. So they rolled a 2. Sorry, she rolled a 2 for the Night Questor. Though 2 is not higher than the Night Questor's move, the roll is still a double. So he takes 1 mortal wound and halves his move until the next Nighthaunt hero phase. So it doesn't actually have to go over his move, but it matters if it's a double. Okay, then the Thorns have got Grasping Chains. The Thorns of the Briar Queen can reroll failed to wound rolls of 1 as long as the enemy unit they are attacking is within 3 inches of at least 2 of the Thorns models. Okay, so that's good. Rerolls of 1. Okay. And then we've got Skirmish at Hallowstone Hold. The ruins of Hallowstone Hold sat atop the range of rocky hills, looking out over the plains of Kernethil on one side and Lurker's Bay on the other, out to the ocean that lay beyond. The fortress had been built many thousands of years ago, during the height of the Age of Myth. The towers had long since begun to crumble away, and the interior was little more than a ruin, but what remained was defensible. Okay, so what have we got? We've got Sequitors and Xandria Azurebolt and 3 Castigators up against the Glaive Wraith Stalkers, the Thorns, the Briar Queen, and looks like 10 Chain Rasps. Okay, and basically as before, we've got no terrain on this battle mat yet at all. So Stormcast one side, Nighthaunt the other, and it is a glorious victory. The game ends when one player has no models left on the battlefield. The Nighthaunt player has the first turn in this battle round. Follow the instructions on reference sheet 1 to play throughout the game. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so that's good. So now next week, we've got some glorious new terrain. Now, I thought that I had this terrain, and I've got very similar terrain, which I'll show you in a second. So the stuff we're getting is very much the same style, but not exactly the same stuff. Now, I've done a bit of painting on this, so I will show you. So this thing on the floor here is this piece here, which is pretty cool. We've got a section of wall there, which looks like this, which is nice. And then we've got this part here, which I thought I had, and I've got lots and lots of kind of similar terrain, some of which we are definitely getting in Mortal Realms. So there's a bell tower that we're going to be getting, which looks like this. But the piece of terrain which I've got, which most looks like this one, is here. So this is just to give you an idea of the style of what we're going to be getting. And it is very nice stuff indeed. So all of this stuff that I've got came with the Warcry starter set, which if you can get your hands on it, is a lovely, lovely bit of kit. Okay, and then issue 27, we've got Stormsire's Cursebreakers. Now, this was a Underworld's warband, I believe. So obviously we won't have the cards for it and that kind of thing, but we are getting the models, and these are great. My mate Simon has painted these, and they look terrific when they are painted up. So I'm really looking forward to getting these as well. I believe as well, and please someone let me know in the comments, but I think that the Thorns of the Briar Queen and the Briar Queen herself, I believe that they were also a Underworld's warband, but I'm not entirely sure. So let me know if you know the answer to that. Let me know. But I'm certainly looking forward to all of this stuff. And yeah, I will see you again next week. I'll also see you this weekend for some more of the 140k starter sets and that kind of thing. So thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated. I'll see you later.